It's a tablet it's like big. But I have some very close friends in some very high places, from NASA to other places, and they're they know like we know, like you know. Oh, you guys are on, you know. The nuts and bolts thing, the Galactic Federation, and when I hear all these details about everything, I wonder what am I missing? You know, I don't understand. I don't know what size shoes they wear or what type of sports craft they fly. I just know they come in fiery balls of light, and they can come out of there with a machine that appears to be. They can walk right out of orbs. We see them. And it's connected to your thoughts, our thoughts. And I don't know. Don't let me get sidetracked, Grant. I'm good for questions.
Yeah, yeah. I just want the connection to the ship, like where you flew it, and the religious implications that these people will understand. I'd like you to get across the fact that this has a very spiritual component to it.
Yeah, there you go. I have to be careful on what I say there because I don't want. Listen, I was born and raised out in the middle of nowhere with bare feet. I mean, on a farm, and I wanted to go to church because my friends did, and the closest friend was a half a mile away. And I grew up going to the little Baptist church. My mother didn't take me on my own. I would get a ride. And I married a girl from the Pentecostal Holiness Church, which was very fundamental. They believe in the Bible by the word, and I was a deacon there, so I'm very versed on the Bible. I have a lot of understanding there, and I wonder if I was in that direction from a young child because I've had a lot of experiences all my life. I was shot with a gun at 10 years old in an accident and was taken into space. I watched the Earth get smaller and smaller as we sped away, and I was on something I described to all the kids in the family and my wife when I married her 35 years ago. It was like riding on a circle in space. I could see nothing, but I could feel the walls, but it was so clear. Yes, there at 10 years old, and then again later. But I was in 2007, January the 8th, I had just come through my second near-death experience, and that was from Crohn's disease. And it was so bad, so debilitating, that I could barely get bed for 2 years. And I had an $18 million, we varied from $15 to $10 a year in construction, building homes. And my wife and we had a staff in a big office in a 4,000 foot, 2-story building on the main in town with 25 real estate agents and 400 people working, building 50 houses at the time. That's about how many would be under construction. And imagine having that and me running it completely, the construction side. Without me, it wasn't well. And so it became very stressful. And that it poisoned me. I got toxic poisoning from the medication. And the doctor that did that had gone crazy. And he overdosed on his own drugs and died. In fact, my appointment was, I pulled up to his office and knocked on the door, because the door was locked. And one of the girls come out and said, "Oh, he died last night. He overdosed." So he nearly killed me, and he did, basically. But my business had gone ill, and I was crying out. A year or so later, I got through that. And through that experience in the hospital, I was laying on a stretcher. My head was covered with a sheet. Out from under the sheet and up to the ceiling, and I looked down and I saw myself sitting there in the room crying. And these three doctors come in, and I heard the doctors say, "Good evening, Dr. Flown," called him by his name. He makes the 110th patient that this doctor has injured. And he said, "It sure is a shame." And that's when I sat up out from under that sheet. I came back into my body. I rose up out of that bed. But a year and a half later, I was still unable to work because of the Crohn's, and I had sold my business. My wife sold it while I was in the hospital at that time. So I was 46 years old, lost my empire, sick, 4 children that I were in love, and was just at wit's end. I took my child fishing along with 3 other guys that had completed the job. My dad to do this job for them, to get back into the workforce, and actually supervising building a great big beach house on Holden Beach. And we completed the 4-month project. I came home for Christmas. We went back on New Year's and did the walkthrough inspection. And January the 8th of they came home after 4 months and wanted to celebrate. So I said, "Let's go fishing." And that's the day that I was ready to give up. I was crying out, walking along through. I never fished. I left my son there with these 3 grown men at 5 o'clock in the evening for a stroll. And that whole time I was crying out, who is up there? I don't know, but I need help. I don't know what to do. I don't want to live. And that's where I walked on up this path in the forest, down this river, dirt road. And they were waiting on me. When I got to the top of the hill, there, 2 of them, these big orange balls. And that's the day life changed forever. I was scared for a moment. And then I thought, how amazing. I'm a commercial pilot, rated. Wasn't flying it. But I was scared when I saw it. I knew it wasn't from here. And I turned, I looked down the hill like I'm going to run. I had made up my mind I'm going to run. And that's when this other one came out of like a black hole in the sky, and it was on top of me within seconds. I mean, boom! I knew it saw me. I knew they saw me. So I tried to hide, and that didn't do any good. And 4 years later, I come trotting up to the fire, wondering what was in awe. Like, you won't believe what I just saw. Just I thought 20 minutes had gone by. It was 4 hours later, but I was not sick anymore. Didn't realize it till the next day. That was a long night, but the next day I had forgot to take medication that morning because of all that excitement and seeing this stuff. And I wasn't sick. I missed 1 pill. I was really sick. I would regret it. And I never took another pill. And for 17 years I was suffering with that stuff. So they came with prayer. So immediately I thought, I had this brain block where I couldn't remember nothing. I wasn't sick. I knew they were there. I saw them. My son had an experience that was plain to him. He was awake 2 hours, conscious, with these beings playing hide and seek, and they were all around him. And he was frozen and scared, and he ran away. but he's come back and understands now. So I was very conflicted with his story and what I saw and knew what happened and why they came. I couldn't remember a flipping thing until this Harvard doctor came and regressed me a year later, and I knew I would start remembering. Told me you will remember everything, but not all at once. Well, I started right away, and they didn't quit coming. They continue to come. They still come. They come with other people around now. It's incredible. A lot of people who experienced it with me, including Colonel John Alexander, and a lot of folks know who he is. It's like really, really big in this thing, you know. But I've been a proponent. I called them angels. I told Fawn when I reported it, I believe they're angels, and of course that didn't go over too good. You know, everybody's labeled me as crazy. They're Pleiadians. They got every name in the book, but that wasn't my experience at all. It isn't to this very day my experience. They come through being humble and sharing, you know, this loving kindness to others, to each other, service to others, not yourself. I've developed this relationship that they're, and I know it. I feel when they're around. I sense it. I explained this to Grant and John when he had his experience. I told him, I said, they're here. I know it. I feel it right. 15 seconds later, this thing appears and appears out of nowhere. And he's like, oh my God. Because I could sense it. I could feel it. It's like an adrenaline rush that it's wonderful and exciting and just shaking and all it and together, everything you can think of. So, but how do you make that? I need help with this. How do you make this alien? They look strange. They told me that they were they worked for creation. They were called the guardians. That's what they call themselves. They're these pale, bluish looking beings with blue eyes, tall, very tall, and their children are very small. And they have these red goggles they wear that helps them see in the dark. So all I understand. I've been told that's why they wear these things. But they wasn't mean. They came for prayer. They took care of what was wrong. And it continued to come through the same way. Through meditation and I think there's a lot more happening too.
Chris, you were going to call the original movie, I think, called The Message. So what is the message they want us to hear? Why are they here?
Why are they here? I don't know. I've been, there's a lot going on right now.
But didn't it give you a message for the world?
Yeah. I've been asked that by a lot of coast to coast, Chad and Carrie, the whole 9 yards. And I know what she told. I had an experience with a lady. I struggled with these beings for a long time because they were what we would call angels from the Bible. They told me that. That's why they came. And they kept me over and over when they would come. My wife would see them. She'd see them in the daylight with me, behind me. My son, too, saw it in the daylight in July. My face centered more on this camera without that light, maybe. So I struggled with not telling the story for a long time because I couldn't, in my religious believe I was seeing and experiencing was angelic, because the church called them demons. Oh, they came with holy water. Heard it from everywhere, uh, from I just know the doctors, they believe they're demonic beings, and I'm saying no, they're not. They're angelic beings, and the way they looked had me really um, not sure until Easter, or around Easter of 2012, when this beautiful lady appears. And she told me that there were power that was making the end of the world come true. Prophecy that they wanted it to take place, biblical prophecy, and they were going to happen, and that they were going to tell the truth about the disclosure. The greatest secret known to man is their other life, and she told me they were going to tell it negative, and that it had to be told in a positive light, scare the people. This is what she was telling. Not saying there's not good and bad. There's both good and bad out there. I think if you align yourself with the dark force, you're going to get the dark force. If you align yourself to live in the light, you're going to get that. What you put in is what you get back. So how do you get alien? I mean, how do we get out? Even though they fly around in these balls, it comes out into this metallic-looking egg. I wrap my head around the alien word. I'm rather off planet. That's what my NASA friends call them. Beings. They're beings. Other beings. So there's a lot of confusion there, but the message is big. It's big. The world's overpopulated, and we're at another's throat. The negativity that is being projected into everybody by the negativity is causing the global connective consciousness to become stable, and which is making the earth begin to shake like a dog with fleas on its back. This is kind of what she shared with me. That is, our collective consciousness is connected together as one, and we're actually all basically one. And if all we have to do is shift to the positive, and the love, and the light, and the earth settle down, and peace would come. And I think that the lady style, the woman, man, the female, I believe that
Is that Nelly?
um,
Is that Nelly?
the whole thing's about the new age, the age of Aquarius. It's about the divine feminine, the woman. The church arrested her and put her under strength, and they still do it to this day. And it's got to stop. The women are going to break free. They're going to rise up, and it's divine. And it's going to be that peaceful, loving energy that transforms us to peace and love. I'm sure of this, because that's part of what she shared with me. So I don't know what the message would be, other than we're going through some amazing times, and Greg knows, just like I know. I can't say who, what, names, or whatever, but oh my.
But that message is incredible, though, because it's the unity, love message. And when we were up at Mount Shasta, that's what the beings told us. They said despite all the negativity that you see going on in the world, if even if a small number you gather together in peace and put your intent toward love and unity, that gathering together is more powerful than you can even imagine. They said it extends out into the depths of space, and it was very humbling to hear that, to hear that you have that capability, right? Because the way that the media and the world makes you feel daily is that you're powerless, that, you know, you're just, you know, what are you going to do in the grand scheme of things? But they kept telling us this. They kept saying, it's your consciousness. You need to unite in your consciousness. And
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what's wrong with she made that clear with this collective consciousness, that the power of everybody is like what you said. You get a group together meditating. A NASA friend told me, he said, Chris, it's just like the church talks about when you pray, where more than one is gathered. These beings hear you, and they hear you direct line of. It don't matter how far out there they are, they can hear you as long as there's nothing in between them. And they listen to everything. They're connected to us, and so are we as a group. The more we gather, the more powerful we become of projecting our thoughts, our messages out there, and they come to help. And thinking aloud, right? But as a collective consciousness, we're in the negative right now. All you're seeing is riots and war and beheadings. Why do they put that on TV? Why don't they put, you know, loving stuff and good stuff?
Exactly.
If we get peace, but
Yeah.
instead we're causing the earth to shake and become unstable until it could be our demise, honestly. And that's kind of explained to me that we need to shift our consciousness to service to others, not ourselves, and love one another, and peace will come. Woman is going to help usher that in. The mother, the lady, the female, the energy from the female. It's the new age. It's like Pisces and Jesus. He was very real. He came. He had a message. I believe they sent him. And message was love. They killed him. I mean, people on earth killed the man that was preaching, and it was all written. It was foretold. And now at that time, we're at the crossroads at a new age. I'm not saying the world's going to blow up, or die. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's a new age. It's a new beginning, a new consciousness. It's going to, and it's going to change. It's going to change the world. And they're going to tell. I can tell you, Grant knows too. The players that's involved, the people that, and where they're, it didn't get any higher. It goes clear, and they're all talking, you know, telling this thing. And I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of confusion to what to believe. And this is what we're doing. Grant knows, just like we're very close friends, and he knows. He's the one that's telling the truth, and he's got a lot of people behind him. Just me, but a lot of people, important people he don't even know, that that watch and listen to everything he says. And it's correct.
But I should give you some heads up here that the people you're talking to, like Lori and Kat and Desta and all the people in Boulder, are behind you 100%.
That's right.
They're absolutely 100%. They are on the same page as you are. That's why I brought all these people together tonight. There's nobody here tonight that is not on the same page as you are.
Right.
Well, I appreciate that. I've felt alone at this thing. I've been for years friends with Grant, and you know, just I felt completely like I'm missing something, that I don't part of that other group, the UFO world. I'm not saying they're bad people. It's just what I got out of there doesn't match what's happened in my life. Period. It does, some of it, but not a lot of it. And it's to your and my and every one of us is heart.
There's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about love. And it's not about one individual. It's not about me. It's about all of us together. And I feel like the lady told me, she said, this incredible thing. It is, I can't tell you how incredible. She came, I stayed for 5 years, from '07 to 2012, in a hole where I didn't want to talk to nobody. Um, Nothing made sense. My children were away. We were fighting, trying to find somebody could answer us and help us. Nobody was there. And I would call on people from different places. They couldn't help. And frankly, I never got any offers to help there. So I just kind of went dark. We made that little video with the Discovery Channel in the first year, and that was a disaster for all my kids because the people at school picked on them. Their friends and peers still do to this day. And they all, it made us tighter as a family. But when 2012 came, I was struggling real bad. They kept coming over and over and over. I'd see them all the time. My family would see the craft, the big ones hovering over the house. And here's what's crazy. When the lady came right at Easter of 2012, she told me this message. And then she said, this is your burden you must bear. You have to tell this message to the world. And I'm thinking, how can I tell this message to the world? There's no way. She said, if you agree to this, I will help you. I'll be with you. I'm not joking. And I had turned everybody down for 5 years, and just basically nobody called me anymore. Well, within days of her coming, I get a call of all people and said, we'd like for you to talk in 2 weeks at a conference in Asheville, North Carolina. 2 weeks. I'm like, heck yeah, I'd love to talk. Agreed to it. And for 5 years, I wouldn't agree to anything. But I had a renewed life and experience with this lady, and talk about her. I didn't care about talking about the river experience. So when I got to Asheville, which was hours I drove just to go tell the story with my son, I start talking, and I deviated from the timeline and what happened on the river that day and that whole event, and started talking about the lady. Well, I started getting heckled by people. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted to hear the story about the MUFON show. So it made me kind of emotional. It really did. And they recorded every bit of it. I had the whole meeting there recorded. And what I didn't know was there was a lady there that found out that I was coming, and she showed up, and I didn't know she was there, didn't have a clue. She's the angelic religious scholar on the planet. Her name's Dr. Diana Pasulka. She studied Berkeley 12 years, UC Davis for a couple of years, and Syracuse for a couple of years. Ask how much college this lady has. And she has keys to the Vatican, to the basement. She has those top security. She heard about the lady through the grapevine, and it happened a couple of weeks before, and wanted to hear. And when I told the story, she didn't introduce herself, but her husband came up and introduced himself to her. Had a good time. A couple of months went by, and I get a call from again. They said, we'd like for you to come to Wilmington, North Carolina, just to be there, because that professor that met you in Asheville wants to speak to you. I said, okay. So I took my Saturday and drove to Wilmington. I'm sitting there listening to this person tell her story. And I kept seeing this lady smiling at me. Well, during the meeting at break, I went out to take a break with my son. I had my son with me. Came out, and something happened to her to where she I don't know. She'll tell it because she'll be part of the series. I think we're going to do a mini series or a major. It looks like we'll know shortly. But this was April when I met her the first time. Now we're into June, July. We're at the beach and in this little meeting in June, and we're having this conversation. And then in September, I get a phone call. She says, Chris, called The Conjuring, and they're Christian writers. They're part of the Christian Guild, and I'm the set. Well, I said, Diana, I said, you know how I am about television and people. I said I had a disaster with the Discovery Channel, and frankly, I felt guilty for my children and the struggle they've had all these years, and I don't want to go through that thing again. I said, so I'm going to pray for a sign. And if I get a sign, I will call you and I'll agree to a meeting. If I don't, then I'm not. And so I started praying, just whoever's up there, Lord, I need a sign. Is this the right thing to do? The lady told me 3 months earlier that she would be with me and help me. Well, I said a prayer, a couple, 3 days goes by and it happens, and all of a sudden I walk out the back door, and it had been raining for 2 days, and I look at a tree way out at the back of my property. I see sparks come off of a tree, and it looks like a London fog day. It rained, it's 2 inches. My wife walks out behind me and said, what's wrong with that tree? I said, I don't know, but I see it. All of a sudden it erupts into fire. Immediately, my son taped it on YouTube right there. Everybody was blown away. And I sent that video. I called Diana immediately. I said, Diana, I'll meet you in the morning at 8 o'clock. And I said, I got my sign. So at 8 o'clock the next morning, I was in Wilmington, an hour and a half away. And the writers were there, twin brothers, and they're like, well, what was the sign? So we pulled out the video and showed them, and it blew them away. It blew me away. And that's how I made connection to Hollywood 4 years ago. 4 years we worked on this thing, and it wasn't the right timing. A lot of things happened almost divinely that caused this project to be put off for 4 years until today. And between us, I've been on the phone all evening with them, and they're about to pitch this thing to the top 5 biggest studios and directors on the planet, and it's being done by creative artists, CAA, which is the biggest talent agency in the world, and they're like, oh my God, we're going to episodes. And so it's just, I don't know where it's going, if it happens or not, but it's looking mighty big, and I'm glad that I don't feel alone. Grant's going to be a major part of this thing, just like many others.
My nephew's a top agent at CIA. So
What was that now?
oh, there's a message.
Okay. I'm going to have to send another link, Chris. We're going to be cut off in a second. I'll send you another link right away. I'll send all the people that are on another link.
Okay.
Click on, okay?
All right. So,
So what do you
what's
think?
the best?
Yeah. The burning bush was like no big deal. Burning trees.
3 times it burned, too.
Yeah,
So I just want
just in case you missed the first time.